Okay. Getting started a little bit late here. But that's just the way things go sometimes. Real life gets in the way. It's how it happens. You just gotta roll with it. Roll with the punches, keep things moving. Always moving forward. Always moving forward. Now, let's just get on here real quick. And we're gonna go over here. And while we're waiting for everybody to show up, we're gonna go over here and grab something real quick. Let me just grab that. Alrighty. We're gonna come over here and there we go. There we go. Ready to go. Ready to go. And we're good to go. All right. Now we just gotta wait to see if anybody will actually show up when I start one of these late. We're just gonna wait and see what happens. Give everybody a few minutes. Allow me to partake in my addiction. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Where are all y'all at this evening? I'm only 27 minutes late. Come on now. Come on now. Y'all can show me a little love. There ain't nothing but 30 of you, so come on. Come on. 30 of you that show up live and 6 or 7 to 100 to 1,000 that watch the replay. So come on. Let's go. Ray Fresh. Oh, wow. It's Saturday. Well, that's the day I usually do it, Ray. When I'm able to do it. Antonio Labs. Hello, sir. Hi, Nick Neal. What's going on with you? Let's just wait for a few more people to get in here. When we get about the usual suspects show up, then we'll get started. Have you ever sailed before? Not sailed as in, hopped on a schooner and just caught the wind. But I have been out in a boat before. I've been deep sea fishing in Panama City before. I have a cousin who lives up in Tennessee that has a yacht. Go out on the yacht, out on the lake, have a few beers. You know how it goes. But as far as, getting on a clipper ship and heading out to, peruse the South Pacific or, wreaking terror across the Caribbean. No, I have not sailed. Have you watched Titans on HBO Max? I've watched some of it. It's okay. It has a very WB DC feel to it, only with bad language and occasional nudity. But, I mean, it has a little bit of a bigger budget than the shows that are on CW, but still not enough to make me go, wow, this is so much better. No. It's more or less the same crap. Man, where'd all y'all go? I've been absent so many times that y'all are just, at this point, used to me not being here. And because I didn't show up on time, y'all just aren't in the know. Wow! Just ain't in the know at all. Let's see what's going on. See if anybody's acknowledged. My, oh my, oh my. All right. Well, we'll just get started here. And maybe more people will show up and maybe they won't. That's what I get for letting real life get in the way and not starting on time. Next time I'll know if I'm not going to be able to start exactly at 6 o'clock. I'm just not going to do it at all. We'll just chalk that one up as a loss next time. Meh, 2 kind of sucked. Oh, is Eighth looking forward to Bayonetta? Sorry, I didn't even know Eighth was in here yet. Malik Dudley, yo, hello Malik. Anyway, greetings and salutations. It is Saturday, 6:33 p.m., October 16th, 2021, and this is the 7thCast. Greetings and salutations. As always, I am your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is right here in the chat, from the get-go, which is unusual. And boy, have I got some fun stuff to talk about as my first topic of the evening. And I'm realizing that I started 30 minutes late. Again, sorry about that. It happens. So, I was minding my own business today, as I am wont to do. And I get a DM on Twitter. And it is addressed to multiple people. Some of which are people that I have not spoken to in the better part of a decade or more. And it was basically Black Bond, knowing that for some mysterious reason, the vast majority of the people that are usually on the Weapon Wheel podcast aren't going to be on there tomorrow. That includes BG, who is off on vacation somewhere. I have no idea why the others aren't showing up. I don't know why, Jack Move and Smoove and all them others aren't going to be there. But apparently, Black Bond is the only main member that's going to be around and available to stream tomorrow. So he decided, hey, here's a good idea. Let's invite a bunch of channels from prior to Weapon Wheel's history, during back when the community was the console war community instead of the Crumb side, and see if they want to go and shoot the shit for some nostalgia clicks on Weapon Wheel. So he invited me, and he invited Solid Rev, and he invited Hellhound 30X, and he invited Acid Snake, which, man, I haven't talked to Acid Snake in a hot minute. And he invited some others. And General MLD. He invited General MLD. And I was the first one to respond. I was like, well, okay, whatever. If you want me on there, all right. And MLD responded. To my knowledge, me and MLD are the only ones that answered in the DM. But he also tweeted it out publicly. And one of the people that he included on the tweet publicly was Hard 8 Times. I'm wondering if y'all can already tell where this is going. So he invites Hard 8 Times. Hard 8 Times didn't really start to hit prominence in the community until, a while after all of us were doing the Trey Brotherhood thing. He came after the whole Trey Brotherhood thing for the most part. He was kind of off doing his own thing when he first got, started out, and he wasn't really considered part of all of that. And he didn't really start getting involved in it until all of that was kind of done and gone. And because of that, because he wasn't part of the whole Trey Brotherhood versus 360 thing, it made me wonder what that was about. And so someone asked him about it, and he was like, I'm going for golden era here. A golden age or whatever. And so I jokingly responded to Black Bond on Twitter. I said, if you're talking about golden age, why did you invite Hard 8? And I wasn't meaning it as an insult to Hard 8. I was meaning it in that he wasn't part of the community that Bond was inviting. Bond was inviting people from the Trey Brotherhood 360 console war community, which was, at least for a while, before Hard 8's time. Well, apparently Hard 8 took offense to this. And I haven't watched it. I had somebody message me about it that he was not pleased with this one little tweet that I said, this tiny little minuscule one-line tweet, and told me that that he had called me a billy goat or something. I don't know, but and I'm a dead irrelevant channel. Blah blah blah. Look, first of all, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, Hard Eight, by talking about my channel being dead or whatever. I talk about my channel being dead every podcast. Every podcast. And the reason that I do it is because it's the truth. I was on my way for a while. I was, getting 50,000 views, 80,000 views, 100,000 views, 1.2 million views. But then I decided I was going to break off and do my own thing. And the algorithm didn't like that. And so my channel's views went in the toilet. And they've been in there ever since. And I'm the first one to admit that. You're preaching to the choir, son. You're preaching to the choir with that. But a lot of people, you guys that watch me on the regular, I don't talk about Hard Eight. I don't tweet about Hard Eight. I don't bring up nothing about Hard Eight. You know why? Because I don't have any beef with Hard Eight. I never have. I've never had a problem with Hard Eight. Hard Eight has a problem with me. And let me explain to you why. This all dates back years. This man holds a grudge like no other. Tokes threatened to murder me on camera. Tokes and I are now friends. But Hard Eight gonna hold on to that grudge, son. So way back. You guys have heard others in the community talk about these infamous Skype chat calls that used to go on, right? I never really had a tremendous interest in those, but Black Bond would, on the regular, invite me into them because he thought it would stir up crap and make them more fun. And on a lot of occasions it did. But a lot of times when he would invite me into one of those, Hard Eight was there. And Hard Eight, at one point, took it upon himself, both in Skype chats and in his videos, to talk about his past, which included that he is, at one point of his life, loved that prison time, okay? I don't remember what it was for. My memory of it is that it wasn't anything major, he wasn't gang banging or doing anything like that. He didn't kill a guy or none of that. My memory of it is it had something to do with some form of fraud, like check writing fraud or cellular fraud or fleecing goods or something. It doesn't matter. The point being was that he did something. It wasn't, from what I remember, a great big deal. And he did a little time for it. And he did his time and he got out. And he hasn't been back in since, as far as I know. But one of the stories that he told about this period that he spent in jail was that at one point he had gotten into a fight with another guy. And my memory of it is that the guy at one point had him in a chokehold or something. And it was close to basically a life-threatening situation, according to him retelling this story. And out of desperation, Hard Eight reached down and grabbed the dude by his reproductive organs, shall we say. And, squeezed on them like they were a stress ball and at an AT&T call center office desk. He just squeezed for dear life, and the guy let go of him, and he was able to escape certain death or whatever. And apparently, and this was before I even got involved, okay? Apparently, some of the others that were in these regular Skype chats would kind of poke fun at him a little bit about that story. And I heard about it. And I heard about him getting bent out of shape over others giving him a hard time about how he got out of this fight this one time years ago in his youth. And you guys know how I am. Whether I have a beef with somebody or not, if I find out what their button is, it's very, very hard for me to resist the temptation of pushing that button like this, just over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I can't help myself sometimes. And it got to the point where every time Black Bond would invite me into one of these Skype chats, the first words out of my, and I saw that Hard 8 was in there, the first words out of my mouth were a prison joke. And it wasn't even anything serious or mean, it was just the usual drop the soap type stuff, Nothing super cruel or mean or anything. And I never said it vindictively or in a mean spirit or nothing. It was in no different of a tone than in me busting the balls of anybody else, right? And he'd get really mad about it, to the point where eventually it got to where every time he'd seen my screen name pop up, he'd drop out of the Skype chat. He didn't want to be anywhere around me. And it got even worse on this one particular instance where I was in there, and again, Black Bond had dragged me into it. And I don't remember who all was there, but Hard 8 was one of them. And there was 3 or 4 guys that were sitting there saying disparaging things about Shokio's girlfriend at the time. And neither Shokio nor said girlfriend were there. So it was like 4 guys sitting there talking shit about this girl that wasn't there to defend herself and whose boyfriend was not there to stick up for her at all. And at that time, me and Shokio were on speaking terms, and I hit him up in another window, and I was like, "Hey, man, they're running their mouths about your woman on here." And like I said, Hard 8 was one of them that was in there. I don't remember if he was taking an active part in it, okay? Let me be upfront about that. I can't remember if he was one of the ones that was clowning her, but he was there, and he wasn't, and I do remember he wasn't doing anything to stop it. So I told Shokio about it, and somebody invited Shokio into the chat, and, all their talk shut up real quick, and Shokio shut him down real quick. But from then on in, I was the snitch. And it wasn't about being a snitch. It was just, if you're going to run your mouth when the person is there. That's all it was. And so that was another instance where I didn't really know why Hard 8 got bent out of shape over it, but he did. And so, that was really the end of my interaction with Hard 8. We never debated. We never went back and forth in our videos against each other like I did with other people. None of that. But because I tossed a couple of prison jokes at him on a Skype chat, and because of the thing with Shokio, I'm persona non grata. And it continued on with Twitter. Years and years later, I tried to reach out to him and say, "Look, man, this was all just fun and games. I never had anything against you." And he would block me every time that I made the attempt. And over time, it got hard for me to keep track of him on Twitter, because he would say something that would get him suspended so often that he was constantly having to create new Twitter accounts just so he could stay on Twitter. And that's the whole reason why this drama happened today. Because I was not even aware that he was tagged into this Twitter conversation, because I can't keep up with what his Twitter user ID is. I've had the same Twitter ID since I signed up to it back in 2012. But he has had, a large amount of Twitter accounts. And so, I saw other names in there. I had no idea one of them was him. So it's not like I directly tweeted to him to try to piss him off. I wasn't even aware that one of those names was him. I wouldn't have had a problem with it if I did know, because I wasn't saying anything that was an attack on him. I was simply saying, hey, you're talking about getting a bunch of 360 Republic versus Trey Brotherhood guys on here. Hard 8 wasn't involved in any of that. So why'd you invite him for? That's all it is. But it just goes to show you that, Hard 8 has been through some real shit in his life. Hard 8 has experienced some real challenges in his life, and he's done time. But don't let him kid you. He's extremely sensitive. The slightest little thing that he takes as an insult, whether it is or not, he's going to say something about it. He's going to react to it. And all I did was one little tweet. Haven't talked about him negatively for years and years and years. Haven't said nothing bad about him. Haven't tried, haven't been stalking him on Twitter or making videos about him or nothing. I left that man alone. Completely left him alone. One little tweet. He jumps live onto YouTube and starts talking smack. That's fine. Hard 8, if you're out there. I got no beef with you, never have. The only person that's got beef is you, son. The only person that's holding on to anything is you. And I'm not talking about a dick. I'm sorry. That I'm just playing with you, man. I'm just playing with you. It's all right. It's okay. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. I'm cool with it. He can say whatever he wants about me. I won't. I'm not even going to fire back at him. That's all right. I am, as you guys know, more or less retired from that whole YouTube thing. I got other things that take precedence in my life. I come on here not to make money. I don't come on here trying to be e-famous. I don't live off YouTube. I do this for two reasons. For you guys that show up for every stream that I do, and the folks that still watch my videos. And I do it because it's fun when I have the time to do it, which isn't as much as I used to have. It just is what it is. So he can say what he wants. And now on top of that, it's apparent that he used me as one of the reasons why he was not the reason, but one of the reasons why he was going, apparently, from what I'm told, he was going to decline the invitation. And that the main reason was because of him and BG and their drama that got him kicked off a weapon wheel or whatever. But apparently he forgets that, I was on Weapon Wheel Podcast many years ago, before he got kicked off a Weapon Wheel Podcast. But he didn't seem to have a problem with being on a live stream with me then. And I didn't do nothing on that live stream. I did not make any jokes towards him. I didn't pull the whole, I could have gone live into that, and the very first word out of my mouth was drop the soap. I could have done that, but I didn't. And that's because, I have a line that I won't cross. You don't talk about a man's wife or his girlfriend. You don't talk about his kids. You don't talk about, anything personal that would get him, people messing with him in the real world. And you don't rub a man's nose and shit on his own front porch. Weapon Wheel was his thing. It was his thing along with BG. And I wasn't going to go on there and try to, stir back up stuff that hadn't even been on my radar in years by that point. And so I behaved myself. I just gave my 2 cents on the topics that BG brought up, and that's all I did. I didn't try to stir up nothing. I was a good boy. So, some people can get over things and some people can't. And Hard 8 is one of the people that can't. And that's fine. That's fine. It's no big deal. I never thought that what went down between me and him was in any way even a major thing. You know, like I said, I had Tokes threatening to murder me live on, murder me on camera, but him and me are friends to this day. And I never said anything even approaching close to Hard Eight. Some of the things that I said when I was going back and forth with Tokes. I've been a lot meaner to Black Baron than I ever was to Hard Eight. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he just don't like me on a personal level. Is what it is. Anyway, that's the only topic I had to talk about today. And, I won't be bringing it up after that or after tonight. It is what it is. So what do y'all want to talk about? Let me scroll up and catch up with everybody. Let me see. There's a lot in here. Let's see. Have you played Xenoblade 1? Way back in the day. Let's see. For some odd reason, your live streams are not showing up in my notifications. You can thank YouTube for that, Brother Natural. Let's see here. From Nick Neal, I love Weapon Wheel. It's a popular podcast. It's a popular podcast. They earn that popularity. It is what it is. I don't begrudge Weapon Wheel. I've never said anything negative about Weapon Wheel other than the fact that back in the day, not as much now as before. I mean, it still happens, but not as much. A lot of what Weapon Wheel was at one point was just listening to a bunch of men yell at each other. Not saying there was anything wrong with that, but it drew that kind of drama addicted audience that was really prevalent during the Crumbside days. But, they've had a lot of really cool guests on there, and I don't have anything against anybody that's currently on there, and I don't have anything against anybody that ever has been on there as far as regular hosts. So, let's see. There's Nancy. Hi, Nancy. How's it going? Careful, 8th. Hard 8 might make a roast video about you. Hey, if he, like I said, if he wants to do that, fine. Hi, 8th. Hi, Hard 8. Thank you for the free advertising. I appreciate it. Let's see. Fat Gamer and Next Gen 720 never let Hard 8 live that down. I can remember that. They would bring that up a lot. I can remember Fat having, making a lot of videos about Hard 8 back in the day. And again, I never got involved in any of that. All I ever did was make a couple of drop the soap jokes during those Skype chats, and he just wasn't having none of it. Let's see here. I mean, he'd play it off as, oh, you just telling corny old jokes. And then he'd get all silent and he'd drop off the chat. Eventually start dropping off the chat every time he saw me hop in. One time I hopped into it and he said on the mic, oh, hell no. And he dropped out. He just don't like me, man. And I've never done anything, nowhere near as bad as some of the stuff that I did to other folks back in the day to him. Literally all I've ever done to Hard 8, not 8th, but Hard 8, was make a couple of drop the soap type jokes, and that was it. The legendary 7th. I wouldn't call myself legendary, son. I'm just an old redneck that makes videos, and that's it. Seventh, back then, didn't you know a teacher that you knew how to exploit and get on their nerves? Basically, you knew all about back. Well, that's when I first learned how to do that. I had a teacher in middle school who had some problems, and I picked up very quickly that if I just did these certain little things, it would drive her over the deep end. And then the whole class would get to sit and laugh at her going off the deep end, basically. And that's how I first learned that, there are certain things that if you just poke them the right way, people will react rather hilariously to those things. So yeah, good memory, Ultra Steel, good memory. Got some back plates for PS5, black plates for PS5. Cool. Hi, Jacoby Mans. Elden Ring wait hype. Yeah, 8's waiting for that one real hard too. Did you watch the David Jaffe weapon wheel conversation? No, I didn't. I mean, I have heard that that Jack Move was kind of I think it was Jack Move. Was it Jack Move that went hard on Jaffe? Basically kind of saying, you don't really have a horse in this race anymore because you ain't made a good game in years or something like that. I don't know. I didn't watch it. Tokes, how's it going, bro? Yeah. All I did was post a little tweet, man, and it rubbed old Hard 8 the wrong way. And there he pops up on his podcast. Not even the day that he would normally have one. I think his is normally on Sundays. But he had some words, I guess. I don't know how I get dragged into stuff like this. I don't even know. 16-bit Pete, who I need to... No, man, it's nothing like that. Man. From Kona Squid, WWP is terrible these days. I haven't heard that many people complaining about it. What's terrible about it? Thoughts on the PSVR 2? I know 8th really wants it. That's all I know about it. Thoughts on Nintendo scamming people $50 a year for N64 and Genesis games? Considering that I own like 99% of what they're offering is free, I shall not be partaking in that. You would think that if they were going to dang near triple the cost of their membership, that they'd have more on deck to offer for that additional price than that old stuff. Because I mean, as from looking at the list, almost if not every Genesis game that they're going to have for free on there was already on the Sega Genesis collection way back in the day, and this most recent Sega collection that came out not too long ago. So I don't know. What games are you looking forward to next year besides God of War? I don't really know. I'm just going to take it as it comes. I'm not... I really want to play God of War. But so far, that's the only one. Because, I'm not a big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn. Not because of its gameplay or anything. I just didn't find the story to be all that fascinating. It didn't grip me in the story department. The new Batman looks fantastic, and the Black Adam looks promising. Okay. The only new trailer that I've seen today was the trailer for The Flash, which got me excited because I love Michael Keaton Batman. So it was BG who attacked Jaffe. Wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was Jack Move. Again, I didn't listen to it. So sorry, Jack Move, if you're out there. I didn't know. I was just going by what I'd seen on Twitter. I did not watch it, so I didn't know. That's kind of harsh, man. I mean, I've disagreed with some of the things that Jaffe has said on his channel over the years, in the couple of years that he's had it running. But, if I was in a live chat with him, I wouldn't be like, you've got no You've got no horse in this race. You ain't made a good game in years, blah, blah, blah. Even if he never made another game in his life, he still made way more games than I have. Why would I think that I was in a position to say anything to him about his opinions on gaming? I mean, how's it hanging? That's all right. Jack moves 6-hour road trip. Remember that? Vaguely, very vaguely. Have you played the Alan Wake remaster yet? No, I have not. 7th, have you seen Halloween Kills? Nah, Tokes. I'm right now. I'm kind of avoiding movie theaters, so unless it's on instant buy, you know, I'm not watching it. And if it comes on streaming same day, you know, I'll watch it. Like I can't wait to watch Dune next Friday. But Halloween Kills, I'll just wait. I'm not in any rush to go back into a movie theater right now. Not with everything that's going on. Weapon Wheel podcast is basically just news for views with bad guests. I don't know, man. I mean, I respect your opinion on it, but I don't regularly watch the Weapon Wheel podcast. I do watch it when there's a guest that I'm interested to hear from, and they've had some pretty cool guests over the years, like moi. I'm kidding. I mean, I was on there, but you know, I don't consider myself a newsworthy guest on anything, to put it lightly. 7th, I know you've owned many dogs throughout your life. What's your opinion on Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer's method with dealing with dogs? Do you think it's effective? It can be effective, but not necessarily on every dog. Because one thing that I've learned is that you go from dog to dog and there's different personalities involved. And you go from breed to breed, same thing. But, you know, I don't really watch his show. I've seen like a couple of clips on YouTube, and that's about it. Do you think the PSVR 2 will make Microsoft not stand a chance in the gaming? No, I don't, because it's a niche market. Until people are buying virtual reality helmets as their primary gaming source, and you know they're selling 50 or 60 million units, it ain't going to be a major component of anything. It'll be a nice option to have for those who can afford to get into it and can do it without getting motion sick. But it's just going to be an addition to what's there. It's you know, it's not going to be what makes or breaks a console market, certainly. Let's see. New rumors that UK developer is making Sly Cooper. Maybe a lot of talk of that as Sly returning since the Easter egg. The place. I enjoyed Sly Cooper, but I wouldn't call myself like a big Sly Cooper fan or anything like that. What's your theory on what's going on with all these job openings everywhere? It seems like everyone on the planet is hiring. Because if you've got people, when you make it possible for people all across the country to not have to work, they won't work. And so then you end up with a bunch of job openings. And at the same time that that's going on, when you have a lot of people that get let go because they don't want to go out and get a vaccination, you end up with a lot of job openings. That's pretty much what it is. You've got people that are afraid to go back to work, so they lost their job or got laid off or whatever, and they're claiming unemployment, which the country is still extending because there's a lot of people hurting out there. And some folks just aren't willing to go to work and take the risk. And meanwhile, you've got people that are willing to go to work and take the risk, but are afraid of the vaccine because the media has allowed a lot of fear to build up about these vaccines and their efficacy and various things. And so They don't want to get that shot, and some companies are requiring you to get it for safety reasons, and you get let go. Just because you got let go doesn't mean they don't still have work that needs to get done. So boom, job openings. That's what's going on right now. From Titanfall Princess, I wish we could get an arcade collection with Punisher Arcade, all the Arrow Fighters, and X-Men Arcade. Guess what, Nancy? My custom built arcade cabinet out in the game room, it has all of those on it. And guess what? 8th's At Games Legend arcade cabinet in his room, USB port. You can put any game on it you want. You just download the ROM, pop it in there. 8th's has hundreds of games on it. Any arcade game that has a ROM on it and doesn't have a whole lot of heavy 3D graphics, it'll play all of them. He just has to download the ROM, stick it on his USB card, his little flash drive, pop it in there, play the game. And his cabinet, that At Games Legend arcade, was about, what was it, 8th, about $600. So if you've got $600, Nancy, you can go buy an At Games Legend arcade, and you can put any kind of artwork that you want on it. Just have some arcade artwork made, slap it on there, and you can put any of those classic arcade games on there that you want. It's got multiple sticks for multiple players. It's got a spinner for games that used a spinner. It's got a trackball for games that use trackball. It's got all of that on one thing. And it's about $600. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at Sam's Club. So if that's what you're looking for, you can make it happen. You don't have to wait on Arcade 1-Up for that. Have you seen Black Widow? Yeah, I saw it on Disney Plus a couple of days ago. It's okay. I just think that they waited too long to make it. That's a movie that should have come out before Endgame, and they should have pushed Captain Marvel, left Captain Marvel out of Endgame, pushed it to after Endgame, and gone from there. That spot should have been Black Widow's spot, but because they didn't do that, her death in Endgame had less impact. That's my opinion. Let's see. Halloween Kills is on Peacock. I don't have Peacock, Tokes. I've already got so many streaming services that I pay for every month. I'm not willing to pay more for Peacock. I'm sorry. 7th, what? I mean, I know I could probably hop online and sail the high seas and find a free copy of it if it really mattered to me that much, but it don't. 7th, what are some of your favorite advantages for owning physical games versus digital games? Well, I kind of already covered that multiple times, Ultra Steel. The main benefit is that you don't have to worry about digital licensing running out. And the example that I give is most often Scott Pilgrim. That was a fairly popular game. It is an excellent 2D fighting game. And they lost their license, and the game was taken down everywhere. And if you didn't already have it installed on your machine, tough luck to you. Now, yes, they eventually re-released it, but you had to wait many, 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 many years for that to happen. If it had had a physical release back in the day, wouldn't have been a problem. Let's see here. Thoughts on 4 million people quitting their jobs. How many of them were really people quitting their jobs versus being laid off or being fired because they wouldn't take the shot? Thoughts on the Switch OLED? I don't have any interest in it. They didn't, they didn't upgrade the graphics processor to a degree where it's going to look anywhere near PS5 or Series X quality. They just made, a cleaner screen. Yay! It's not enough money. It's not enough of an advantage for me to double dip. I'm sorry. Especially when, to this day, Nintendo still doesn't have an achievement or trophy system. So no, thank you. Since you won't go to a movie theater, does that mean you also won't go to a barcade? Not right now. If Shady J was to announce that his barcade was opening in next year sometime, like January, February, or whatnot, I would make the drive up for that. I'd be masked up, and I'd be gloved up, but I would make the drive out for that. I'm not willing to do it for Retropalooza this coming week because right when all this is happening is right about when my shot that I got, my 2 shots are supposed to be starting to lose their effect. And on top of that, I've got to stay home because of the stuff that's going on at work. So I had to cancel again. And it sucks and I hate it. This is now going on 2 years that I haven't seen my friends, and it sucks. But, that's life. Android or Apple? Android. I hate Apples. I have one sitting right here. It's my corporate phone, and I hate it. 7th, I don't think we've ever discussed this, and it may be late, but what's your opinion on the casting on the Mario movie? I like Chris Pratt as Mario, ironically, lol. I think it's stupid casting. I think it's casting just to get people to go see it. I don't think it was needed. I don't think that a Mario movie would need a bunch of known names playing the characters for it to be a successful movie at the theater. This is something that, love it or hate it, Pixar and Dreamscape or whatever, the company that Spielberg and Katz and Geffen started. That's something that they started with their films, and I consider it a distraction. I think it distracts you away from the story to have these voices that you instantly recognize. And I realize they do that so they can put those names at the top of the poster to get people to come in, but still, with Mario, I really, really don't think it would matter. I think you could put DreamWorks, right. I think you could put no-name voice actors in there that could do, Italian accents or whatever for Mario and whoever else, and it would be fine. I just read a tweet that made me genuinely dumber. That happens to me all the time. That's probably why I'm not getting promoted any more often than I do at work. Have you and aged Kina? And if so, what's your thoughts? Do you mean, did me and 8th play Kina? No, we have not. I'm waiting for a physical release. I'm not paying that much money for a digital game. I'm sorry. If I was willing to pay that much for a digital game, you know what I'd be playing right now? Diablo 2. Haven't played Metroid Dread either. What do you think about the GTA trilogy remastered? I've never been a huge GTA fan. I liked San Andreas, and that was about it. So I'll probably get it to replay San Andreas, but I've just never been as big a fan of GTA as other people have. Let's see here. They should have just used Mario's regular voice cast. Yeah, I can't remember the name's actor, but the guy, it's me, Mario. That's the guy they should have got. That's the guy they should have got. Not that I don't like Chris Pratt, but in this instance, screw Chris Pratt. It should have been that guy. And that guy does have a cameo. They tossed him a cameo so the fans wouldn't destroy them over it. But let's see here. I retweeted that tweet at you. Okay, let's go look at that tweet. Let's go look at the tweet. Let's see. I'm not reading 8th. I'm reading something he retweeted. I was thinking about why so many people on the participate in speedrun. I was thinking about why so many people on the radical left participate in speedrunning. The reason is the left's lack of work ethic, go fast rather than do it right, and in a Petersonian sense, to elevate alternative sexual archetypes in the marketplace What? I mean, that's veering into political stuff, and I'm not going to get into that, but that is some nonsensical bull right there. What in the world? No one's political leanings has anything to do with wanting to do speed runs. They do speed runs just to prove that they can do it. It's like a high score. Come on, man. Stupid. All right. Let's see here. At least the upcoming movie won't be as bad as Super Mario Brothers 93. How do we know? We ain't seen it yet. Do you think Returnal will get Game of the Year? No. Way too small a market for that. No. Won't happen. Yeah, Charles Martinet, is that how it's pronounced? That's the guy. How excited are you and 8th for the Spider-Man film? I'm looking forward to it. I want to see it. Very much so, I want to see it. You know, I never really cared too much for the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films, but I was a big fan of the Tobey Maguire films. So, you know, Doc Ock's coming back. They're hinting at the fact that Willem Dafoe will be back as Green Goblin. This is going to be some fun stuff. Should April O'Neil get her own prequel origin? No one's going to watch that. No one's going to watch that because nothing interesting happened to her until the Turtles showed up. Now, if they wanted to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film that was all from the perspective of April O'Neil, that might be interesting. But a prequel about her just being a newscaster back in the day, where's the story? Oh, wait. Magic powers. Will Ratchet and Clank get Game of the Year? I suppose from an outlier, it's possible. But I still kind of doubt that. Have you ever played Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines? If so, are you looking forward to Bloodlines 2? No, Tokes, I've never played that. I have played a game or two of Masquerade, the tabletop game, way back in the day. I went over to some friend's house, or friends of friends, I should say, and it was their tabletop game night. And so I got to play some of Masquerade, and the other one I played that night was Call of Cthulhu, and it was the scenario on the train, which was pretty interesting. Will you see the next Spider-Man film in theaters? By then, I might be more willing to try it, yeah. I really want to see the Ghostbusters movie in the theaters, but again, I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk. That's maybe if I went to a midnight showing when there wasn't going to be anybody in there. A Casey Jones Origins film could work, yeah, Brother Natural. I could see that as an interesting story. And it's not because, you know, we're talking male versus female. It's just that Casey Jones was a vigilante, so there's more meat on the bone as far as story goes. 7th, do you think Marvel should have waited a little longer before resuming the MCU? No, I don't think they should have waited longer. I think that they should have just had more of the mainstream characters lined up. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Shang-Chi. I've heard it's a fun film. And, you know, Iron Man, before the movies came out, was a B-list character. But, you know, who gives a crap about the Eternals, really? And especially the way they've designed the costumes. And that movie might be excellent. Who knows? But the costumes look like, you know, Power Rangers or something. It doesn't... It looks cheap. It looks cheap. Thoughts on Black Adam? I'm interested to see it, not only because it's The Rock, but also because, you know, I'm a fan of the character. Have you ever played the PS2 game Dark Watch? Dark Watch. Was that the one that's it's a first-person shooter that's a horror shooter, and it's also got kind of a Western motif? if that's the one I'm thinking of. I used to have it. I don't have it now, but I used to have it. Thoughts on the potential Star Wars second sequel trilogy now that Rey's actress is coming back? I hadn't heard that she was coming back. Oh, God. Now, those movies were not her fault. She was handed bad scripts. I got nothing against her as an actress. But she was handed bad scripts. And if she's coming back as Rey, I guess Tokes really likes old Masquerade Bloodlines. I never played the first one, and the footage that I saw of the sequel was terrible. Absolutely god awful. Eighth, it depends on what Fist of the North Star they're talking about. There's been multiple Fist of the North Star games. I'm assuming that they are either referring to one of the Muso games that they came out with, which I platted one of those. I didn't finish the second one. Or they're talking about Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, a Yakuza game with a Fist of the North Star skin stretched over it. Do you remember Myst, and what do you give it out of 7? Well, I recently replayed Myst on Game Pass. I 100%ed it in a couple of hours. And out of 7, probably a 5.5. I mean, it was good for its day. And they've modernized it a bit with this new version, But it wasn't one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games, but back in the day, I thought it was pretty impressive for the time. Between you and me, though, I liked 7th Guest better, not because it was a better game, but just because I liked the whole haunted house motif better. I'm a sucker for haunted house stuff. What is the Eternals about? I don't watch Marvel. The Eternals are these race of kind of sort of immortal metahuman type characters that have been hiding on Earth for eons and eons to protect it against some alien race or some crap. And they have this rule of not interfering with Earth history and blah, blah, blah. And yet it's heavily referenced in the books, the comics, that their DNA is where the mutants from X-Men come from, that it was them crossbreeding with humans or whatever that caused mutants to appear on Earth. And that's also why when you watch the Eternals, a lot of the powers that you see are the same powers that you see from Cyclops and all those other characters. And so it could be that they're making Eternal as a way to loop the X-Men into the MCU. I'm surprised new Catwoman is not wearing a mask. Not familiar with her. From Toke64, Dark Watch, yes, Western FPS, half human, half vampire, out to kill vampires. Yeah, I used to have it. On PS2. That's one of the ones I lost in the infamous yard sale debacle of 2004. Let's see here. I know you don't like to talk about this, but what do you think WWE has to do as far as change for you to watch it again? Stop scripting every damn thing. Part of the problem with that show is that it's too scripted. They have a team of writers now instead of a booking committee. They don't allow their wrestlers to improvise in their promos. It's fine to give them an outline, let them riff off that outline, but instead they tell them exactly what to say, word for word. No. Those are two big things. The second is that, they're relying on their own internal development now, and they're shying away from people that are coming up through the indie circuit, and the people that are coming up through the indie circuit are better than the people that are coming up through NXT. So it just is what it is. I mean, not everybody. Some of those indies are jokes, but a lot of the great ones that they have on AEW came up through the indies. They certainly didn't come up through NXT. Some of the great ones. I mean, they got a couple of NXTers in there, but still. Oh, and by the way, look out. Two hours remaining. We have had 0 donations. Nada. None. Seventh, would you consider Malignant to be a horror comedy? Yes. Yes, I would. It's very tongue-in-cheek. Do you know any good sources to get a PS5? Sorry, Nick, no, I don't, because I already have one, and so does 8th. So I'm not following sources to find where one might be available, because I don't need one. What other era, other than the Attitude Era, did you like? I liked NWA during the 80s. I liked some of the, WWF during the 80s. Not all of it. I mean, a lot of it was dumb, but there were some great moments. Roddy Piper in the 80s. Macho Man versus Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. That kind of thing. I have both of next-gen systems. When do you think chip shortages will get better? Not anytime soon. Thoughts on the upcoming Final Fantasy IX Netflix series? Didn't even know about it. What are your thoughts on them making Superman bisexual in the new Superman? Well, it's not Superman. It's Superman's son, who just happens to look almost exactly like Superman. But yeah, it's Superman's son. It's not Clark Kent. It's not Kal-El. Horror comedy is a bad mix. No, it's not. Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 3. Horror comedy can work just fine. Thank you. Would you agree that getting a vasectomy is a bit selfish? Why is it selfish? If it's your woman pressuring you to get one, that's a little bit selfish, but you choosing to get one ain't selfish. Ruthless Aggression Era versus Attitude Era. I got to go with Attitude Era. I mean, yeah, there was some dumb stuff in it, but, for overall entertainment value, the Attitude Era was just more fun. Do you think Nintendo is too loved to fail? No. If that was the case, the Wii U would have been a success. Tokes. Oh, that's to Lord 8th. Tokes is asking my son a question. DC should have replaced Ezra Miller Flash with CW Flash for the upcoming film. Well, I think they're trying. They're doing this, I think, because one, they were probably still contractually obligated with Ezra Miller, and two, while they're telling everybody that they don't want to get back in the Snyderverse business, they're watching to see how well this film does. Enemy TV, $2. Pepsi donated $3. Thank you, Pepsi. Thank you. I prefer you over Coca-Cola. Thank you so much. So that's $5. $5. $45 away from the 10 o'clock, well, now the 10:30 goal. Oh. I'm supposed to get scared in a horror film, not laughing. Well, there's been a lot of great horror comedy films, Shadow Deist. Ones that were more uh, blatant comedies, that were more spoofs, like Dracula Dead and Loving It, Love at First Bite, that kind of thing. But then there are ones that really do well at blending the elements of horror with comedic elements, like Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and another example would be one of my favorites out there, which is Dead Alive. 8th can't stand it, but Dead Alive, which was a early Peter Jackson film, I might add. And there's another one that I really like out there, more of a lower budget indie film. That's called I Sell the Dead. That one is a lot of fun. I love I Sell the Dead. Creepshow. Creepshow is for all intents and purposes a horror comedy. Not as much with Creepshow 2, but Creepshow was definitely a horror comedy. Stephen King's Cat's Eye, horror comedy. So it has been done before and done well. Who would you take down? Madonna or Cyndi Lauper? Well, it depends on what you mean by take down. Do you mean as far as like ruin their career, or do you mean take them down to my bedroom? What do you why you talk about taking down? Did you like the Snyderverse Justice League? I liked his cut of it. I did not like the original cut all that much, except mainly that I liked the references to the original movie scores that Danny Elfman put in there. So, he borrowed from his own Batman score. He borrowed from John Williams' Superman score, and I thought that was cool. And I liked the fact that Superman actually had a bit of a sense of humor in the Joss Whedon version. But my opinion, though, is that the Snyder cut was just an infinitely superior film. The only thing I don't like about the Snyder cut is it's not widescreen. That annoys me. What was the number one movie when 8th was born? Lord, I don't even know. Let me see. Let's take a look. The number one film when 8th was born was the hit musical film Chicago. Number 2 was the really crappy horror movie Darkness Falls. Number 3 was Catch Me If You Can. Yeah. There we go. There you go. Two Towers was number 4 when you were born, 8th. I can't even sleep. My head hit the pillow and now I'm wide awake. I hate it when that happens. Happy Death Day. That's a good horror comedy, yes. Where's my cake? Yeah. I finally found my cake. Medelia, where's my cake? That movie's hilarious. I rewatched Cat's Eye for the first time in a long time recently. And, the music is pure 80s cheese. But as far as entertainment value, that movie still holds up. I still like that movie. And as far as I know, it's the only time you can see James Woods in a Stephen King movie. James Woods in a Stephen King movie. What are your thoughts on Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix special, The Closer? Uh, I understand what he was trying to do, and I enjoyed the special. But, you know, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing there. I'm of the opinion that comedy should be equal opportunity offender. Comedy should be allowed to make fun of everyone, and that's that. Because through making fun of ourselves, we learn more about each other. And the problem is that certain communities are not willing to get in on the joke with him. And they are choosing to be laughed at instead of laughed with. That's their choice to make. But, I don't think he needed to go all in the way he did, but I understand what he was trying to do. Let's see here. What was the very first ever slasher movie? Probably Psycho, technically speaking. I'm having a glass of Maker's Mark, nothing like a fine glass of whiskey. Thoughts on the buzz on the Squid Game show? I liked the Squid Game. I thought it was a fun show. I enjoyed it. It's pretty fun show. But then again, my tastes are very wide ranging, okay? To give you an example, you know what I've been marathoning for the last couple of days? That TV show about Jesus, The Chosen. That's a great frickin' show. That's a great show. I would go as far to say that as far as any kind of on-screen depiction of Jesus Christ that's ever been done overall so far, this show, The Chosen, is by a wide margin the best one that's ever been done. It's fantastic. And yeah, I know that a couple of Mormon folks helped produce it, but still, there hasn't been any Latter-day Saint stuff in this show. It's all straight out of the New Testament, and it's been really, really good. It's a well-made show. The actors in it are great. It goes into a lot of the backstory about some of the characters, and it covers a lot of the stuff about the culture that was going on during that time, so that you've read these stories. If you're a Christian, you've read these stories 1,000 times, but you didn't necessarily make a lot of the connections or understand some of the motivations going on because you didn't understand the culture and the political spectrum of it all. This show explains a lot of that, and so then you're like, oh, that's why they hated him so much. Or, oh, that's why those two didn't get along. It just kind of helps you understand those kind of things, and so it pulls you more into the story, and it makes me want to go back and dig my Bible out, because I haven't, it's been a year or two since I cracked mine open and read it. I must admit, life gets in the way of things, and sometimes you shouldn't let the life get in the way of certain things, but I have allowed it to. But it makes me want to break it back out and reread those sections to follow along with the show, and it's been fantastic, absolutely fantastic show. Anyway, thoughts on Super Size Me? I saw it a long time ago, but that's a kind of a misleading documentary. If you do some research on that documentary, it's a little bit shady, man. What's your opinion on pit bulls? I think people misunderstand them. They can be loving animals if you're patient with them and train them right. Well, I had a neighbor that had a pit bull for years, and that pit bull was never anything but nice to me. Wasn't so nice to one of my other dogs, but that was my other dog's fault. It wasn't his fault. And 8th has had some positive experiences with pit bulls over the years. I've never personally owned one, but it's true that they were bred to be fighting dogs, but I think really a lot of that just has to do with the environment that they're raised in. Would you agree that Ali's death was Ali or Ollie's death was the most heartbreaking? What are you talking about? What are you referencing there? Are you talking about Squid Game when he basically betrayed his brother, his buddy, and allowed his buddy to take the fall for him? From Toke 64. Correct. Psycho, you won me gold coin. Leprechaun voice. Ach, you won me gold coin. Kiss the Blarney Stone. That's a light, nice set of lead balloons you got there. Aye, you should see the purple horseshoe that goes with them. I'm getting stupid. All right. From Titanfall Princess. I want to see some 7th art. I suck at art. I'm sorry. I'm not good at art. I am not an artiste. You have me beat in that arena, Nancy. That's not my thing. Have you played the DLC of Ghost of Tsushima? I have not, but 8th has. What's your opinion on Pitbull? What's your opinion on Pitbull the musician? I do not have much of an opinion on him one way or the other. Hi, video game lover. 7th, did you like really old Disney films like The Reluctant Dragon? Oh, yeah, I've seen The Reluctant Dragon dozens of times. It used to come on Disney Channel a lot when I was a kid. So, yeah, I like a lot of old Disney movies. There are some that I don't care for, like, for example, Pollyanna, Follow Me Boys. Yeah, I don't care for those too much. I liked Johnny Shiloh about the little Union drummer boy played the drums for the Union soldiers. I like that movie. Okay, been a long time since I've watched it. I don't remember much about it. I really liked the Davy Crockett show that they turned they turned into a movie or two. I liked Island at the Top of the World. I liked some of the Kurt Russell movies that he made with Disney before he hit big. Just a number of things. And, here, speaking of him, funny little piece of Disney trivia. At the end of Disney's life, he lost the ability to speak. And so he had a little pad of notes that he would write on to give to his brother. And the very last note that he ever passed before he passed away just had 2 words on it: Kurt Russell. And to this day, nobody knows what that meant. They don't know if he meant we need to get him back under contract because he's going to be huge, or what it meant. But, at that point, Kurt Russell was still a very, very young actor. And Even Kurt Russell himself doesn't know what Walt Disney meant with essentially his last written words on Earth was the name Kurt Russell. No one knows. From Tokes. Oh, at Tokes. Okay. Ratatouille is a great movie. Loved it. Okay. Hey, Seventh, I'm watching the early parts of your stream. Okay. I like Meet the Robertsons. I liked Meet the Robertsons a lot. When I was a kid, I liked Swiss Family Robinson. Now I go back and watch it, and that movie has not aged worth a hoot. But, but, I still love the old late 1950s era, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I love that movie. I've always loved that movie, and I always will love that movie. There's just something timeless about that film. And of course, I liked Tron and Condor Man, which those aren't as old, but they were made in the early '80s, and I was made in the mid '70s, so yeah. Have you ever watched Steve Martin's Cheaper by the Dozen? Yeah, it's a remake of an older film. I can't remember who was in the original, but it's not too bad. Not my favorite Steve Martin movie, though. Have you seen Jack Palant's version of Dracula? Yeah, if I remember right, it was a made-for-TV film, but it is good. I don't know that I like it as well as the version of Dracula that was made back in the late '70s that starred what's the name of that actor? The actor that played Skeletor in Masters of the Universe, the Frank Langella. The Frank Langella version of Dracula. I really like that one. Obviously, it takes a lot of liberties when compared to the book, like the way Dracula dies at the end of that version, but I like that version. Favorite Arkham game? I don't really know. I've only played the first one all the way through. For whatever reason, I never really got into Arkham City or Arkham Knight. My. Oh, what a day it's been. Thoughts on Gary Oldman's Dracula? Oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I love that movie. I love that movie. I love Anthony Hopkins' version of Van Helsing. How he's borderline unhinged. I love that. The one thing that drags that movie down are Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. I realize that they hired them for it so that younger people would go see it at the theater. But my God, Keanu Reeves could not do a British accent to save his life, and neither could Winona Ryder. It every time they open their mouths, it takes you out of the film. But if it weren't for that, it's a classic. It's just their performances. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. I never was big into Pleasantville. I didn't care for it. Oh, I love The Sandlot. Sandlot's a great movie. Sequels, not so much. Sequels are pretty crap, but the original, great. I didn't care for Dracula the novel. Well, I mean, it's an interesting read because it uses that writing style of being like you're reading someone's journal, and the person that's writing the journal has also included like little newspaper clippings in it and stuff like that. Stephen King has used that in some of his fiction. I like it. In fact, I used to have this really cool hardback edition of Dracula that was illustrated, and the artwork in the book looked like it was done by R.A. Salvatore or whoever it was that did the artwork for those Ravencroft books or whatever back in the day. I'm probably confusing a lot of names there. R.A. Salvatore is probably the author, but the artwork that used to be on the covers of those books, that's what the artwork in this illustrated um, Dracula was. And it wasn't a graphic novel, it was still just the original book, Dracula, but every few pages you had this like full page painting, full color, glossy. And it had some tremendous artwork in it. I wish I still had it. Have you ever played Blood Rain? Way back in the day. I didn't like the control scheme of it at that time. If I went back and played it, I'd probably like it more. Seventh, have you been seeing Cinemasker's recent podcast? No, I don't watch them. I don't watch them. And that's why there's certain podcasts that I don't watch that much, for just the reason that you described there. I don't have anything against Weapon Wheel, but I myself, I like to hear other people's opinions without somebody else instantly trying to cut down that person's opinion by cutting them off, and then it becomes a shouting match back and forth where you can't even discern what's being said because so many people are talking at the same time. Then it just becomes noise. Do you think Leon the Professional has the better surrogate daughter story than Last of Us? Yes. Leon the Professional is a tremendous movie. It's a tremendous movie. Although I will admit that I kind of like the American cut better than the uncut version, because the uncut version, there's some things that go on between Leon and Matilda that are kind of, and they cut that out of the American version, so I actually like the American cut better. It's also one of Gary Oldman's greatest performances. I loved Gary Oldman in that movie. uh, yes, Dracula is an epistolary novel. I appreciate it for doing something a bit new, although Frankenstein already did it, true. And the first 5 chapters were genius, but overall it loses steam. I didn't have a problem with it. I think I read through the whole thing in like 2 days, but I'm a fast reader. How's Eighth's dog doing? Alex is fine. She is her usual irascible self. She's go go go, and then she'll just drop and sleep, and then she's go go go, and then she'll drop and sleep. She's only got 2 speeds: stop and gone. She's a fun dog, very loving little thing. Too loving in some ways, because she'll get up in my face and start licking, and that tongue is just going to go where it goes. So I have to keep my mouth shut like this to keep her from cramming her tongue in my mouth. And if she can't get her tongue in her mouth, she sticks her tongue right up my nostril, like far enough back that it makes my sinuses burn. And I have to push her away because she'll get it way up in there. I just love Gary Oldman. There's very few movies that he's been in that I haven't liked. There's been a couple that I'm like, he's made a couple of indie films that were just, no, Gary, no. This was an obvious paycheck movie, Gary. But most of his stuff is gold. Yeah, I love having a dog. I wish I could have a full-grown dog. If I could get, or a full-size dog. If I could get a big dog, I'd either get a German Shepherd or a Husky. Because I love German Shepherds. I had a German Shepherd growing up when I was a boy. His name was Caesar, and my dad trained him as a police dog, and he was so smart. And he had to be put to sleep when he was 13. He had distemper, and it was causing him to have hip dysplasia, and it was affecting his ability to walk. It was affecting his ability to eat, and he had to be put down. And it broke my heart. That was like one of my first experiences with death. I was about 8 years old when he had to be put down, and it broke my heart. And of course, I blamed my dad for it because I wasn't even allowed to see Caesar the night before he passed away. My dad didn't tell me about it at all. So I didn't get to see him the night before because he was asleep in his kennel. And the next morning, my mom saw me off to school. My dad took Caesar to the vet, had him put to sleep. I come home, and they tell me after the fact. And I did not take it well. I took it out on my dad hard, and I would not talk to my dad for like a couple of weeks, and which just made it even worse for him because Caesar was his dog. And yeah, I was 8 years old. I didn't know any better, but I was a bit of an asshole to my dad that night, or when that happened. It was one time that I went off on my dad that he didn't deserve it. But I can't have a full-size dog. And the reason I can't have a full-size dog is because, I don't own this house. I rent it. I've been renting this house for going on 5 years. And, God, it doesn't seem that long. And they don't allow a dog bigger than 20 pounds on the property. So I have to stick with smaller dogs. Lap dogs, basically. Lap dogs. And there's nothing wrong with lap dogs, especially if it's got, at least half Chihuahua in it, because Chihuahuas are feisty. They're little things. Those are little dogs that think they're big dogs. And my dad used to say, if you could take the heart of a Chihuahua and the bravery of a Chihuahua and put it into a German Shepherd, you'd have the greatest dog that ever walked the earth. And it's true. Chihuahuas are fiercely loyal, extremely loving, extremely intelligent. They're just all around fantastic dogs, but they come in small packages. No, I have still not been to the Alamo. I had tentative plans for me and 8th to go there next year in the early summer sometime, but nothing's set in stone. A lot of that just depends on money, because what we were wanting to do was go down there. It's only a 90-minute drive from here, and book a room at the Hyatt right on the riverfront, on the Riverwalk, so that we could just walk to everything from there that we wanted to see, including the Alamo and some other things. And that Hyatt is not cheap. It's a couple $100 a night. So, not yet, video game lover. I started 30 minutes late, so we're not going to get to that until 8:30. Do you have a favorite JRPG? Not really. I tend to, have a favorite from era to era. But if I was forced to pick a favorite traditional JRPG, the first one that would come to my mind would probably be the original Lunar on Sega CD. I just really, really loved that game. Really enjoyed it. It's like, that's one of the few times where I've played a JRPG that I didn't just want to beat it. I wanted to 100% that game. I wanted to completely max out my character, get all the best gear, all that. I just really loved that game. I don't prefer one over the other as far as JRPGs versus Western RPGs. I like them both equally, but for different reasons. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Heart 8 has blocked me on Twitter again. Oh, Lord. I'll take childhood trauma for $500. At seventh level, my favorite lap from Tokes. My favorite lap dog is a Shih Tzu. I've never had a Shih Tzu. I want to say that I had a distant aunt back in the day that I might have only visited twice in my entire lifetime that had one of those, but I've never owned one myself. Almost every uh, inside dog that I've ever owned was a Chihuahua or at least a half Chihuahua, except for my dog that had to be put to sleep this year, Abby. He was a rat terrier. Seventh, I know you don't care for zombies, but what's your opinion on dolls, dummies, and puppets being considered creepy or scary? I've seen movies about dolls and puppets and whatnot that I found funny, but I've never watched one that actually scared me. Like the Puppet Master movies, none of those are scary. The classic 80s horror film Dolls, not scary. Even Dead Silence to me wasn't scary as a more modern example, because that one had, what, the ghost of an evil ventriloquist in it as the villain. That one wasn't scary to me either. But amusing, yes. Uh, Weather must be getting ready to change. The arthritis in my knuckles is starting to flare up. Yes, seventh is an old fart. But yeah, whether you're a Christian or not, uh, if you have any interest in it at all, or even just interest in the Holy Land or the Middle East, watch The Chosen. It's a good show. Really, really entertaining show. I marathon that crap. There's only 2 seasons of it out so far, and each season has 8 1-hour episodes. I've already watched all of it over the course of 2 days. And now I'm like, oh, I want to watch season 3, and there's no season 3. You misspelled mannequins there, eighth. No worries, though. I love you anyway. Seventh, do you like the Chucky movies? I think they're hilarious. I don't find them scary in the least bit. Best and worst Sid Haig films. My favorite Sid Haig film is House of a Thousand Corpses. My least favorite Sid Haig film was that sci-fi one that he made way, way back in the day. What was it called? Terror Planet or something like that. And it was basically like a Charles Band ripoff of Alien, sort of. It had some interesting moments in it, but Sid Haig got killed fairly early into the film, so that's one of my least favorite Sid Haig performances. And even then, his character wasn't very Sid Haig. He was, it was a galaxy. Maybe it was called Galaxy of Terror. It was Terror Planet or Galaxy of Terror, something like that. And it had Sid Haig in it, and it was an Alien ripoff. And I want to say Charles Band or Roger Corman produced it, one of the two. It was early 80s. Seventh, do you remember Trilogy of Terror? Vaguely. Vaguely. If it was one of those anthology films, I've seen a lot of anthologies, but I can't remember for sure if I've seen that one or not. Was Trilogy of Terror the one that had that little evil African doll that came to life in it? That little voodoo doll or whatever the hell it was? Is that Trilogy of Terror? I can't remember. Not misspelled. Mannequins are the ones used in medical. Oh, okay. Sorry. Do you have an opinion of Babes in Toyland? It's a fever dream to me as I barely remember it. Oh, that's. Are you talking about the Disney one? The original Disney one from like the 50s or early 60s? It had. Who did it have in it? It had Frankie Avalon and that. The one of the original Musketeers. What was her name? Her last name was Funicello, but I can't remember. Annette Funicello. It had her in it. Toyland, Toyland, little boys and girl land, blah blah blah. Yeah, I remember that movie. And I remember it had a guy playing a toy maker, and it was the guy who voiced. I can't remember the actor's name, but he voiced the Mad Hatter in Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. That guy. I was just trying to make the toys. I'm so flustered. I can't do that guy's voice. I can't get mine up high enough with those. He was also the guy in Mary Poppins who would laugh so hard he'd get stuck on the ceiling. That dude. Seventh, do you still use Discord? Not really. I still have an active Discord, but I very rarely use it because nobody else does. From Tokes, Trilogy of Terror, the Black African Voodoo Doll. Right, okay. Okay, so I do remember part of it. All right. I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember that doll. Still not scary, but it was a cool sequence. Another one that I liked was when they did Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. I liked that one a lot. And I can't remember which one it was, or if it was maybe an episode of Twilight Zone, and I'm just thinking of it as an anthology piece. But there was one about this guy and these little army toy soldier toys came to life. And I remember it took place in like an apartment that was in a high rise, so he was way up high off the ground, and he was running around this apartment or office or something, and these little toy soldiers were trying to kill him. Oh, the Keanu Reeves one. It was Keanu Reeves and Drew Barrymore. That one was a made for TV one. I think it might have been made for Disney Channel or something. That one was terrible. I hated that one. I couldn't even watch that one all the way through, Clean Frame. Have you seen High Score on Netflix yet? I have no idea what that is. No, wait. Is High Score the anime about the kid and he meets this girl that's like super good at fighting games or whatever? If that's the same thing, then yeah, I've seen some of season 1. Not all of it. Remember Twilight Zone the doll? Are you talking about an episode? I haven't seen every episode of Twilight Zone. I've seen some of it, but not all of it. I've also seen some of Night Gallery, but not all of it. The one Night Gallery episode that I remember more than any of the others was the one where dude had inherited his father's mansion, and it turned out that he had like murdered his father to get the mansion or whatever, and there was a painting of the house hung inside the house, and the dude starts noticing uh, changes in the painting. So he looks at the painting, and suddenly his father's grave is in the painting. And then the next time he looks at it, the cross on the grave has fallen down. And then the next scene, the grave has been dug up. And then the next scene, the his dead dad has crawled out of the grave, and then it's getting closer and closer to the house, and then it finally gets to the front door, and then he hears a knocking on the front door. That was a cool episode. I love that episode of Night Gallery. I also like Twilight Zone the movie, even though who was it, the guy that directed Eddie Murphy in Coming to America and Trading Places, comedy director. Let's see, what was that guy's name? John Landis. He pulled some shady crap that ended up getting an actor and two child actors killed when they were filming a scene that involved him carrying two children in his arms across a body of water while a helicopter was hovering overhead. The helicopter malfunctioned, collapsed, and the helicopter blades hit that actor and the children he was carrying and decapitated all of them. And of course, that's not in the film, but that happened during the making of that film. So I always feel a little guilty about watching Twilight Zone the movie. But that being said, I still enjoy it. Do you remember the film The Phantasm Boy? I don't know what you're talking about there, Shadow Deist. I remember Phantasm, but not The Phantasm Boy. Seventh, who's funnier, Freddy Krueger or Chucky? Freddy Krueger, I think. But only in the later films. In the first film, he's not so much funny. He's actually kind of creepy. And in the second one, too, kind of creepy. But starting with the third one and moving forward, he just got funnier and funnier and funnier. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Dream Warriors. But it does have some corniness to it, and it just gets cornier and cornier after that one. Oh, you're talking about the last line of Phantasm. Boy. Yeah, okay. I thought you were saying there was a movie called The Phantasm Boy that was maybe some kind of like obscure spooky movie for kids that Disney did or some crap that I never saw. What's everybody woeing and wowing about? Did you guys not know that three people died on the set of Twilight Zone the movie? There's actual footage of it on YouTube. You can actually see the helicopter crash that killed those people on YouTube. The footage is there. You can go look it up right now. You won't see no blood and guts. You don't see like their heads floating in the water or anything like that. But, you see the actual event happen. What was your favorite short movie from the heavy metal anthology? Dude, it's been so long since I've seen heavy metal, I don't even remember. Is Dark Side Phil getting caught on camera still the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen? I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was more humiliating than that, no. Twilight Zone the movie, remember the gargoyle I told you not to tell. I don't think that was Twilight Zone the movie. I think that was Tales from the Dark Side the movie, Tokes. Because Twilight Zone the movie, you had the kid that had people trapped in the house that could do anything with his mind. You had the scene that I'm talking about that got the actors killed, where it was like a racist dude who ends up in some kind of time warp where he's trapped in Vietnam and all this stuff. And then you had the final episode, which was a remake of Terror at 30,000 Feet, the episode that had William Shatner as a guy that was afraid to fly on airplanes, and there was a gremlin on the wing. They remade that one, but they replaced William Shatner with John Lithgow. The gargoyle was from that. They had this relationship, and she could stay as long as he kept her relationship, the little thing, her secret thing, and then he doesn't do that, and so she turns into a gargoyle and kills him or whatever. That was from Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, not Twilight Zone, the movie. Would you agree that rude people that insult others are usually projecting their own flaws? A lot of times it's true, yes. Seventh, sometimes you stay still for so long that I mistake the video being stuck. Ha ha. I do that to my coworkers sometimes when we have video conferences. I'll be like, oh, and another thing, you know what? And I'll make them think that because, we're looking at little screens, not big screens like you're looking at me now. So, I mean, you can't stay perfectly still. Your hand will move a little bit back and forth just because of the blood circulation and your nerves and whatnot. But on a smaller screen, and they'll fall for it. They'll fall for it. It's hilarious. I do it to them all the time. You'd think they'd stop falling for it, but they don't. That was news to you, Dizzy. Wow. It almost ruined John Landis's career because they tried to blame him for it. They even tried him for like secondary murder or something, second degree murder on that one, because it was his directorial choices that led to their deaths. And yeah. I like Tales from the Crypt, and that's another good example of horror comedy in a lot of ways. Not so much the Tales from the Crypt movies, though. Those weren't all that great. Which is better, Hellraiser or the Phantasm films? Oh, don't make me choose between those two. I mean, I got to go with Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2, though. I think that overall, they are better films. Well, yeah, they're both anthologies, Tokes. So, especially if you haven't watched them in a long time, it's easy to get anthology movies confused. 7th, you smart, man. OMG. No, I'm not smart. I'm old. I mean, I guess I'm smart. I got a couple of degrees, but I don't even know what you were replying to when you said that. What's their reaction when they realize that you're not frozen? It's basically just, oh, that's our 7th, which of course they call me by my real name. They don't call me 7th at work, but, that's our 7th. Always messing with us. No, I'm not talking about involuntary manslaughter. They actually treated it like a homicide. They tried to get him. They wanted to put him in, forcibly do you up the butt prison. That's where they wanted to put him. It didn't happen. But did you like Marissa Tomei better in My Cousin Vinny than in the new Spider-Man movie? Well, she's barely in the Spider-Man movies. So I'd have to say I liked her better in My Cousin Vinny because you hardly see her in the others. I mean, that's one thing I don't like about those movies is they've really made the whole Uncle Ben thing an almost not even mentioned thing. I think he's mentioned his Uncle Ben once across two whole movies. And, you never see that version of Aunt May struggling with it or anything. Uh, she's just the hip happening cool aunt like she was in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics and the Ultimate Spider-Man animated show. So. Well, that's exactly what's going on Enemy TV. DSP makes money not because of actual fans, but because of people that like to troll him and they like to see him screw up and they like to see him get angry. Uh, in a lot of ways, kind of like Wings of Redemption. Well, according to the documentary that I just watched about it, not a couple of days ago, it said that they wanted to charge him with second degree murder for the deaths of those actors, and that it was pled down to a manslaughter charge, and that they couldn't even get that to stick on him. It's in the documentary about the making of Coming to America that's on Netflix. The movies that made us or whatever. Thoughts on the series Stairway to Heaven? I find it ironic that the lead actor was involved since he considered himself an atheist. I'm not familiar with Stairway to Heaven. I remember Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon, but I don't remember Stairway to Heaven. Which do you like best? Superman Christopher Reeve movies or Michael Keaton Batman movies? Oh God, that's a hard one to pick. Hard one to pick. Because I love Superman and Superman 2. And I loved Batman, and I enjoyed Batman Returns. I meant Highway to Heaven. To my knowledge, Michael Landon wasn't an atheist. To my knowledge. No, Michael Landon was not an atheist. He was quoted in a 1991 interview saying, I believe in God, I believe in family, I believe in truth between people, and I believe in the power of love. So, I wouldn't say that he was like a diehard Christian or anything, but he did believe in God. He just wasn't, of any particular faith. Well, the main thing, Clean Frame, was that uh, they were on a time crunch, and so they ignored some movie film regulations, like especially in regards to union regulations, to get that shot. The child actors, there are laws or rules where child actors aren't allowed to work past a certain time of the day. They filmed the shot at night. Uh, they had the actual actor doing the stunt instead of having a stunt double carry the kids across, and they were using actual child actors instead of smaller stunt people that replaced the children. And they also had the helicopter hovering way lower than what the helicopters are supposed to be allowed to hover over actors in films. Yeah, they broke multiple rules trying to get this specific shot that Landis wanted for the film, and it cost 3 people their lives. They were chopped to bits. And like I said, you can go on YouTube right now and see them get chopped to bits. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Twin Peaks is kooky because, it's David Lynch, so it's going to be kooky, Tokes. If you want to see a trippy horror film, and Eighth knows exactly what I'm about to bring up, there's an old 70s horror film from Japan that's called House. You really ought to watch that movie. You want to talk about trippy. Oh boy. And I guarantee you've seen the poster art for that movie. At some point, Tokes, I guarantee you have seen the poster art for that movie. It has a depiction, a very famous depiction of a cartoon cat in the artwork for the film. And that one is trippy as hell. Another one that I intend to talk about at some point that's trippy was an American 70s horror movie called The Manitou. And The Manitou was a ripoff of The Exorcist, but instead of going with Catholic/Christian theology, they go with Native American theology. And so it's about this woman that basically gets possessed by the spirit of a dead Indian or Native American shaman. And a small fetus of him starts growing on the back of her neck and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And her boyfriend or whatever goes and hires this Native American medicine man to come and try to medicine man the thing away when they realize what it is. And it ends up coming to life anyway and like ripping its way out of her back. And the climax of that movie, you just have to see it to believe it. You just have to see it to believe it. It's out there, man. It is out there. It's one of the weirdest horror movies I've ever seen. I love it. I laugh my ass off at it every time I watch it. But man. I'm not all that excited about the new Batman movie coming out. I'll watch it, but, I'm not a fan of that particular actor. What's his name? Robert Pattinson. I'm not a big fan of his. Oh, wait a minute. 1 hour remaining. We have 1 hour remaining. We have had just $5 in donations. So we're $45 away from the hour extension. I don't think it's going to happen again. But I do owe the two folks that donated a dollar bill. So there you go. There's your dollar bill. I completely forgot about it. Do you like The Shining? Yes, I like The Shining. I like the book, and I like the movie, and I like the sequel, Dr. Sleep. No, not that house. Not that house, Tokes. Not the American movie House that came out in the 80s that had the guy that starred in Greatest American Hero. Not that one. This is a Japanese film from the 70s. And it's effed up. Not 80s American House that had a sequel, and the sequel was a horror comedy that I like. I actually own it, where these two guys inherit this house, and their grandpa was a Old West gunslinger, and him and an explorer, and him and his partner had found this crystal skull, and the crystal skull had all these powers, and his partner went evil and wanted to take it. And so when he died, he buried himself with it to keep it away from the other guy, blah, 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 blah. That movie, I do like. I think it's funny as hell. And the original House from 1987 or 86, I like it because it has that, what was that actor's name? Charles Catt or some William Catt? I can't remember. The guy that was the Greatest American Hero in that old Greatest American Hero show. The house I'm talking about was made in the 70s in Japan, and it has all these girls in this haunted house, and half of the special effects in it are cartoons. And it's just weird, bizarre, weird movie. Are y'all having a horror movie marathon on Halloween? Well, I'm trying to, I wanted to do a bunch of Halloween movie videos, but I haven't had a whole lot of time. And the one that I did manage to make, hardly anybody watched it. It only got like 100 views. Do I remember the 80s horror film The Gate? Yeah, that's that one where they found like a hidden incantation by playing a rock record backwards, and it opened up a gateway into hell in the backyard, and had all these little imps running around. And one of the kids that's in that movie was a very young Stephen Dorff, who in his adult life would play the main bad guy in the original Blade movie. So little kid in The Gate is Deacon Frost in Blade. DC milks Batman more than Nintendo milks Mario. Well, you're not wrong. 7th, can your magic powers give Thanos' finger snap a run for its money? I don't think so. I might have caused a few people to pass out with my magic powers before, but I don't think I've ever obliterated anyone from existence with one that I know of. Would you agree that it's better to settle with a slim woman since women progressively get wider and chunkier? I can't agree with that. I've known some very skinny old women. Thoughts on the Nintendo 64 on? I don't care. You guys know I was never a huge fan of the N64. Have I seen Reincarnation? Yeah, that's the one that's got like a picture of a newspaper floating in a mud puddle or something on the cover, I think. I saw it way back in the day. Right around the time when everyone was talking about the American version of The Ring. It's been a long, long time. Yes, I've seen Cannibal Holocaust. I don't think I've seen Infection. Do you remember It's Alive? I remember both It's Alive and It's Alive 2, Island of the Alive. I've seen them both. I think those are, I can't think of It's Alive and It's Alive 2 without also thinking of Basket Case, which, is from the same era and about the same quality too, maybe a little worse. And of course, Basket Case was the movie that Malignant stole a couple of ideas from. Thoughts on the What If season finale? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. In fact, I can't even remember for sure what was the last episode of What If I watched. I kind of forgot about it, which pretty much says it all, really. Have I ever used my magic powers at work? Not intentionally. No, I'm not thinking about premonition. I'm definitely thinking about reincarnation. Which do you prefer, Hellraiser or somebody already asked me that, and I answered it. I said Hellraiser. Do you remember when the Halloween movie started out as an anthology, or am I wrong? Not the original Halloween. They decided after Halloween 2 that they were going to turn it into an anthology, and then Halloween 3 did not do as well as the first two Halloween movies did, so they went back to making it all about Michael Myers. But no, the idea to turn it into an anthology didn't happen until later. But I do remember when they tried to turn Friday the 13th into an anthology via the television show Friday the 13th, the series, which had absolutely nothing to do with Jason Voorhees at all. It all had to do with like this antique shop that only held on to cursed items. And through mistakes that were made, a lot of these cursed items end up getting out in the wild. And so the new owners of this show, each episode was about them trying to recover one of these cursed items before it did any serious damage. And they just called it Friday the 13th, the series, because if they called it the Haunted Antique Shop, nobody would have watched it. 7th, I haven't seen any of the Friday 13th, Halloween's, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacres, or Exorcist films. Which one should I start with? With Friday the 13th, I would start with the first one because it kind of explains who Jason is and all that, even though he's not really in it. I mean, he is very, very briefly. I'm not going to spoil it. That's where I'd start. And I would watch, as far as Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, I'd watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8, and I would stop there. I wouldn't watch anything else. Skip 5, skip Jason Goes to Hell, and skip Jason X. Don't watch any of those. Although I watch Jason X because it's a so bad it's good kind of thing. As far as Halloween, watch the first one. And then watch the one that came out in 2018 and skip everything else. Don't even watch Halloween 2. It's just not as good. And plus, the new one that came out in 2018 basically retcons Halloween 2 as though it never happened. So just watch Halloween, then skip right to the one in 2018, and then you can watch Halloween Kills if it's any good. As far as Nightmare on Elm Street, I would watch 1, 2, and 3, and then skip everything else. Literally. And then I would add to that list Freddy vs. Jason because it's not scary, but it's fun. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I would watch 1 and 2, skip everything else. The Exorcist films, the original, and then Exorcist 3, and that's it. Do not watch Exorcist 2. Do not even think about watching Exorcist 2. It's garbage. Watch the first one, skip the second one, watch the third one. The Exorcist TV show was okay, but it got canceled after like 1 or 2 seasons, so don't waste your time. You won't ever get an end to that story. Okay. Halloween Season of the Witch is underrated. It's okay, but I think actually calling it Halloween did it a disservice. They should have just called it Season of the Witch and left the Halloween part off. Is it wrong to shun rude people? It depends on whether they're intentionally or unintentionally rude, I would say. Well, Tokes, technically Jason is a copycat of Michael Myers because if you have Netflix, there's a show on there that's called The Movies That Made Us, and they recently made an episode about Friday the 13th, and the creator of Friday the 13th, I want to say his name was Sam Cunningham or something like that. He says in an interview that they saw how successful Halloween was, and they said, we need to make our own Halloween film, and that's where Friday the 13th came from. So yes, it is a direct ripoff of Friday the 13th. Jason is not a ripoff of Michael Myers as a character, but the film series is a ripoff of Halloween. Sorry, I'm hearing a weird noise in here. Sounded like a bird. It's weird. I don't know what I'm hearing. What's your favorite whiskey? Jack Daniels. Are you bummed that Johnny Depp ran into legal trouble because he won't be acting anytime soon? Kinda. Tokes, I just explained that. Watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation's funny as hell. Yes, it's funny, but it's a terrible movie. I never watched Exorcise. What's it like? You mean The Exorcist? Ghosts creep me out the most. Recommend scary ghost movies. The original Haunting of Hill House. Let's see. The Shining is basically a haunted hotel. You're not really going to get much better than that. I thought Insidious was a decent haunted house film. Poltergeist, of course. If you've never watched Poltergeist, you can skip the sequels, but the first one is great. Uh, those are the first ones that come to mind. And I don't hate the remake of Poltergeist. The main thing I don't like about the remake of Poltergeist is that Sam Rockwell as the dad just didn't have the funny chemistry that the original parents from the original movie had. I mean, 13 Ghosts, I wouldn't call that a haunted house movie, but it's a ghost movie. Uh, Ghost Ship, uh, that one, it has a cool premise, but I don't think it's scary, and that's mainly due to the direction and the way it was written. But it had a cool premise. I think 13 Ghosts is a better film than Ghost Ship. The remake of The House on Haunted Hill ain't too bad neither. I kind of like it. 7, thoughts on Depp still willing to dress up as Captain Jack Sparrow for kids' birthday parties. I didn't know he was doing that. I did know he was doing it for Make-A-Wish. I knew he was still doing it for Make-A-Wish. I didn't know nothing about him dressing up for birthday parties, though. Never heard that. That's a new one on me. Do you consider Demon Souls remake a good Halloween time game? I don't think so because Demon Souls is not a scary game. Did you see Secret Window? Yeah, that's based on a Stephen King short story. I believe the full title of it was Secret Window, Secret Garden, or something like that. And that's the one where you've got a writer that keeps seeing this person in his house, and the movie version had Johnny Depp in it. But it's based on a Stephen King short story. I can't remember which collection it was from though. Yeah, Queen of the Damned was a terrible movie because they tried to take the vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned and cram them into one movie, and it was just terrible. And plus, uh, the guy that they got to play Lestat just didn't understand the character at all. He didn't look like Lestat. He didn't act like Lestat. It was pretty bad. What's the best so bad it's good horror film? Well, I know a lot of people would tell you that's Troll 2, but I've seen some horror films in my time that would make Troll 2 look great by comparison. One of the ones that comes to mind is a movie called Demonoid. Look, you see my hair's growing in. It's called Demonoid, and it had to do with like the hand of the devil had been uh, was a cursed item, and it had been buried in some like mine or tunnel or something down south, and somebody had dug it up, and it's causing all this mayhem and stuff, and it's low budget as hell, and it's hilarious. Another example would be Manos, the Hand of Fate. If you've never seen Manos, the Hand of Fate, oh Jesus, you're in for a time with that one. Did you know that John and his flamboyant manner? I know he came up with the mannerisms of Keith Richards. I never read anything about him mixing that with a bisexual pirate character, and I don't remember him being the one that came up with the name Jack Sparrow. But I do know that a lot of his performance came from Keith Richards. Do you like the Thing prequel? I like some things about it. I certainly don't like those CG effects because they filmed the whole film with practical effects, and then the producers decided to replace them with CG effects, and I just thought that was a stupid move. Do you think Breakdown with Kurt Russell was thrilling? I wouldn't say it was thrilling, but it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all right. It's not one of my favorite Kurt Russell movies, but it's good. Lord. Do you think Jim Carrey would have crushed it as a live action Lupin the Third? Oh, no, no, no. Do you think with Wolverine being the Wolverine game being made and Spider-Man 2 in development, Insomniac is leading into their own Avengers game? I don't know if they'd get the rights to that. I don't know if they'd get the rights to that. Who's funnier, Nicolas Cage or Jim Carrey? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. The thing with Nicolas Cage is I don't always think it's intentional there. I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but what are your thoughts on Venom 2? Haven't seen it. 8th saw it. I have not. Eighth went to see it at a very late showing with one of his friends, so there was hardly anybody in the theater. When he goes out with his friends, I do not impose on that. I don't try to shoehorn myself into that because him and his friends are him and his friends. Do you think Jim Carrey could make a good Joker? No, because I've seen him do Riddler. So no. Brother Natural, why would I care? Why would I care? How can they make a good Superman game? Well, there is kind of a pretty cool Superman game out there. It's a VR game. It's called Megaton Rainfall, but it's not Superman. It's Superman in everything but name. And it's you as a super-powered flying being that's trying to stop an alien invasion. And it's all done in first person, and it's cool as hell. It's like the best Superman game that's not actually a Superman game out there. Are you surprised Cory Barlog isn't directing the next God of War? No, it doesn't surprise me. Because he went through a lot of crap to get the most recent one made. So I can understand him wanting to pass the reins on to somebody else. Do you think he's maybe working on that canceled game from a few years ago? Oh, the sci-fi game? Who knows? It was the nightmare scene in The Cable Guy that got Jim Carrey the Riddler role. Which one? Are you talking about the scene where he's like, "See ya, bye"? Are you where he's like chasing the guy down the hallway and he's 7th, do you like Peanuts, aka, the Charlie Brown comics? Not really. A little too bland for me. I mean, I watched the specials when I was a little kid. From Dizzy, I think Barlog went through a divorce after directing God of War 2018. Wouldn't surprise me based on some of the stuff that I've read. How can Battlefield be better than Call of Duty gameplay and sales? I don't know. I don't really play any of those, Tokes. I'm not a fan of the Call of Duty or the Battlefield games. I've never been big on military shooters. I'm more into the sci-fi stuff. So I don't really have that much of an opinion on those. And when I have had an opinion on those, it just makes people mad at me. Yes, Nicolas Cage was going to star in a Superman movie. I think it was going to be called Superman Lives, and the script was written by Kevin Smith of Clerks fame, and it was going to be directed by Tim Burton. And if you go on the internet and look up Nicolas Cage Superman, you can actually see where they were taking pictures of him in a Superman costume to kind of test out what he would look like as Superman. Those pictures are out there, and there's even some video footage of it too. Hi, Gaming Night. Seventh, you want to know what's a good horror movie? The Wicker Man. Seen it? Rainbow Six Vegas. I don't play the Rainbow Six series either. Would you agree that Hollywood is fresh out of original ideas since their main focus is remakes and superhero films? You're not wrong. Have you played House of Ashes? Don't believe I have. Did you like Rob Zombie's Halloween? No, I did not, because it destroyed the mystery of Michael Myers and basically blamed it on having bad parents. And it was stupid. The whole point of Michael Myers was supposed to be that you didn't know what was going on with him. It was just that one day as a kid, he snapped and murdered his sister, and he was just this empty void ever since. And so part of what made him interesting was that there was no explanation for it. So what does Rob Zombie do? He has this whole long flashback thing that explains why Michael Myers became what he did. And it sucked. All of it sucked. There were elements of his movie that was good, but none of it made up for that crappy flashback sequence of Michael Myers as a kid. It sucked. Do you dislike Kevin Smith now? I haven't really liked much that Kevin Smith has done over the last several years. I enjoyed Tusk, and that was about it. I didn't like Red State. I didn't like Yoga Hosers. I didn't like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And I certainly have not liked the new Masters of the Universe that he's involved in so far. You know, maybe the second part of it will rectify that. It's supposed to be coming out in November, I think. What do you think is wrong with Xbox producing games? I think they should produce games, but I think they should produce good games. That's pretty much it. Is The Void and Limbo the same thing? I'm familiar with Limbo the game. I'm not familiar with a Limbo movie. And The Void was a low-budget horror movie that's kind of astral horror. It has a kind of a Call of Cthulhu feel to it a little bit. But it's obvious that the people that made it were big fans of 80s era John Carpenter horror. And even creeping into the 90s a little bit. There was Asp reminded me a lot of In the Mouth of Madness, which was a John Carpenter film. And there was also a few elements of The Void that reminded me of his movie Prince of Darkness. What is the movie CB4 about? I want to see it. I know it's about hip-hop, which I love. It's about three middle-class guys that can't make it in as rappers, and so they make up this entire fake history of themselves, claiming to be all ex-cons that were in jail for murder and got out, and CB4 is a reference to the cell block that they supposedly lived in prison, i.e. cell block 4. So it's about these fakers trying to become hit rappers by faking a criminal career that they didn't actually have because they were all middle-class dudes living in the burbs. And it's a fun movie. Was Jamie Lee Curtis the sister that got away in the Halloween movie? She was the babysitter. Jamie Lee Curtis was the babysitter that escapes from Michael Myers. Lost Odyssey is the one Xbox exclusive that I want to play. Well, yeah, because it's basically a Final Fantasy game. Jay and Silent Bob reboot made me shake my head. In my opinion, it was just as dumb as Tommy Wiseau's The Room. It wasn't good. It had a couple of cool moments in it, but the writing in it was not as fun as the first one. And one of the main reasons that reboot was not as good as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was because it didn't have Will Ferrell in it, playing, Officer Lillenholly or whatever his name was, the officer from, what was he, like a park ranger or something? Without Will Ferrell in it, he made a lot of what Jay and Silent Bob was good for. Without him, it just wasn't the same. No, I'm in death, limbo, and the void. Limbo would be a state where you're trapped between life and death, almost like the Catholic concept of purgatory. Whereas the void would be more like not existing at all, like oblivion, like your eternal soul ceases to be. Have I played a Okami? Yes. It's very. If you liked the N64 Zelda games, then you would probably like Okami. 7th, did you know who Johnny Depp was before you saw A Nightmare on Elm Street? No, I'd never heard of him before seeing Nightmare on Elm Street. I think prior to that, he was a wannabe rock star. He was trying to become a rock star, and he kind of did Nightmare on Elm Street on a lark. Do you think Starfield is already overhyped? Yes. All of Bethesda's games are always overhyped when compared to what you actually get. Has been that way from Skyrim on. And don't get me wrong, I loved Skyrim, but you had to put up with a whole bunch of BS to enjoy it. Did you think that Jamie Lee Curtis was hot in Halloween? No. Jamie Lee Curtis is a great actress, but I've never considered her like a sex symbol or something. Okami, yes. Yes, I remember seeing her in True Lies, but, I'm not a fan of her from the neck up. I don't think she has an attractive face. 7th, what's your opinion on sororities and frats? There's this girl in a sorority I know that I like, but she does not like me. Should I let her go? She blocked me on. Well, absolutely. If someone dislikes you to the point where they block you, then that's probably more on you than them. To be honest, you're probably it's quite possible you're being kind of creeper. Like the not quite right nice guy that's upset about being in the friend zone kind of thing. You might want to just take a step back and grow up a little. Obviously you haven't given me a lot of information. I'm just going from, other people that I've known who were like that. Yeah, that's right. We got 30 minutes left. 30 minutes left, and we're still $45 short of the 10 o'clock goal. You only thought she was hot in Trading Places because she showed her titties. That's the only reason you thought that. She gave out the booba. The Lost Boys was a good vampire movie. I feel they should not have made Lost Boys 2 and 3 and should have left it alone. Absolutely. Absolutely, because the sequels were low budget and just did not have the feel of the first two films. And now, believe it or not, Tokes, they're going into production on a remake of The Lost Boys. And oh Lord, the cast. You can go look up pictures of it. That's all I'm going to say. You'll know what I mean when you go look it up. Do you usually read our questions and comments before reading them out loud? No. I usually just read them live. Unless I see it and I see something where, someone's trying to troll me into saying something, like trying to trick me into saying the N word on stream or some kind of crap, those I usually catch those. Haven't heard good things on the last James Bond movie. I haven't heard good things, but I haven't heard bad things either. I'd heard a lot of stuff about how, they're going woke with it and they're replacing James Bond with a woman, but that's not the case. He's retired, and there's another agent who's a female agent who has taken on the code number of 007, but she's not like, Jane Bond or anything like that. Wasn't there supposed to be a movie of Lord of the Flies with all girls in it? I had heard that. I don't really understand how that would work, but I don't really see the point. But I had heard I remember at some point reading that was in pre-production. Can you do the funny Twitch thing with that light up mask again? No, that was only that one time. Any idea why women that prefer the bad boys usually end up becoming single moms? Well, you don't fall for the Ron Burgundy prank, do you? I've had a couple of people almost get me. I don't know the actors' names that it's going to be in the Lost Boys remake. I just remember seeing a picture that showed all the main characters, and I was like, really? This is who's going to replace, this is the new David? This is the new Michael? Really? And it's not a matter of it that it's going to have like a more diverse cast. It's just all of them looked like teenage nerds. They didn't look like the vampires from the first one, who all looked like, rejects from a Motley Crue video. They don't have that look to them. And so I feel like they're going to go for like, it's going to basically have the same plot, but they're going to go for a totally different vibe with it. And I'm just not in for it, because that movie was pure 80s. And I just don't think you can replicate that with a modern sensibility, because so much of what made it good was the fact that it was an 80s movie. Did you like the actress that played Jamie in the Halloween remake? I mean, she was a good actress. Did you hate Jesse from Breaking Bad? No, I loved Breaking Bad. Jesse got on my nerves somewhat, but from time to time. But I think that was intentional. I think that was the way his character was written. And in that regard, he did a good job with the character. Yeah, I mean, even though I'm a southern redneck, there are people out there that would consider me a nerd because of my profession. And, I was considered kind of the outsider when I was in school. I wouldn't say that I was considered a nerd, just like, I was the weird guy that several people from different cliques liked, but one that never fit into a particular clique. So, I had friends that were on the skating, that were in the skating clique. I had friends that were jocks. I had friends that were, on the chess club or whatever. I had friends that were the shop guys, the metalheads that always worked in shop class and vocational and whatnot. But I never actually fit into any of one of those groups. I kind of did my own thing. But, that being said, I've had my fair share of hotties in my life, especially during the period when I was living in Florida. Oh, good Lord. Scarface remake. Your thought? I didn't like the first Scarface, Tokes, because I think Al Pacino has a horrible fake Cuban accent. Well, Jacob, just drop it and move on, son. Either way, just drop it and move on. I can remember Bryan Cranston in old commercials before he hit it big, even before Malcolm in the Middle. I can remember him being in, like, I want to say I remember him in an old Atari game commercial, and he was in a couple others too. I want to say it was Atari. Some of the things that you remember. I tell you. You know, I gotta say, I don't know that I'm gonna do this weapon wheel thing tomorrow because so far I've only seen one other person say that they would do it, and I don't know how entertaining a quote unquote weapon wheel podcast would be if it was only frickin' me and Black Bond and General MLD. And now I don't even see that conversation in my DMs anymore. I don't even see that conversation in my DMs anymore. It's like somebody deleted it. So maybe when Black Bond wasn't able to get enough people to agree to do it, he's just decided not to do anything at all. You know, it was me and General MLD, and I think Acid Snake said that he would do it. But now I don't even see that conversation in here. And I don't know if maybe they removed me from it or what, but I don't see it in there anymore. It's gone from my it's gone from my discussion history. It has disappeared. There's still people talking about it in regular tweets, but the private conversation that I was invited into is gone. It's been completely removed. I don't know. 7th, do you like bikes more than motorcycles? I'm not a particular big fan of either one. At Tokes, Al Pacino fake accent, you're a nut. Well, I'm just saying, I don't think he has a convincing Cuban accent. I've seen him in 2 different movies where he does a Cuban accent, and that's Scarface and Carlito's Way, and I didn't find either one of them, either Cuban or Latino, as far as like Carlito's Way. I didn't find either one of them convincing. It just sounds like him doing a fake accent. I'd watch that weapon wheel. I'm sure you would. We all need to do a podcast. Well, I'm not the one that was trying to set it up, Tokes. I don't have any say on who would show up to it or not. Do you like Better Call Saul? No, never watched it. Thoughts on the GTA remakes? I'm nervous. I don't really care about one way or the other. Do you think we'll ever get another Corporate Slave Awards? I doubt it. I think Black Bond wasn't getting the level of interest in it that he did the first few years, and that's why we didn't do one. That's why one didn't happen this past year or whatnot. Why did YouTube get rid of the discussion tab? I don't know. Why did they get rid of being able to make a response video? Why did they get rid of being able to really customize your channel page instead of just having a banner? Why did they do any of the stupid stuff they've done? Who was your favorite YouTubers from the golden era? Me. No. I really like Solid Rev. El Presidor could be funny. I always liked talking to Hellhound. I had a lot of fun with Hellhound back in the day. General G was always really fun. And of course, I loved debating with MLD. No, I haven't watched The Sopranos prequel because I never watched The Sopranos. I tried to watch one episode of it and I literally fell asleep trying to watch it, and I just never got back into Sopranos. And so I'm not going to watch the prequel because none of it's going to have any relevance to me. General G made a video a couple of months ago, but it was a video he made with one of his sons, and I don't know why he made it. He didn't follow it up with anything else. I think he might have made it just to see if anybody would show up and watch it. And not that many people did. I was one of the few that watched it. Yeah, Blackbuster Critic was a lot of fun. He was a lot of fun back in the day. We got about 15 minutes, folks. 15 minutes and $45 short. Do any of you have an overactive imagination and get paranoid after seeing a horror movie and suspect that something will pop out of the corner? No. I might have had that experience when I was like under the age of 10, but not since then. Like Mr. Spaghetti. The problem with Brodio was that he never could make up his mind for sure whether he wanted to do YouTube or not. He'd make some videos, then he'd take his whole channel down, then he'd make a new channel and post a couple of videos, then take it down. I can't say for sure, but I think his wife didn't like him doing YouTube, and that's what the problem was. But I can't say for sure. He never told me that. Mr. Spaghetti, well, Solid Revlon. Yes, I remember that. And of course, I can't mention, especially since he's in here, I can't mention favorite YouTubers without talking about Tokes, because the stuff that went on back and forth between me and Tokes has become almost an urban legend in the community at this point, if not for the fact that you can still go on YouTube and find re-uploads of it. Did you try a chicken sandwich when it was a craze for some odd reason? I still eat chicken sandwiches. I had chicken sandwiches for lunch today. I had some of those Tyson chicken patties, and I just, nuked them and put them on a bun, I've been watching a lot of you guys for over a decade now. It's crazy how time is flying. Yes, I'm getting old fast. Fast, but I feel I'm aging fairly well. If it wasn't for the extra fat and the gray, I shave all this off. I don't really look any different than I did 10 years ago. I don't have, these frown lines that I have are the only wrinkles that I have, and they're the same wrinkles I had when I was 30. So, I'm aging fairly well, I think. You should have a podcast with Review Tech USA. Well, like I said, Rich interviewed me once, then comes back to me and tells me that none of the audio recorded because the mic was off or something. And so he never rescheduled it, and he just dropped it. So, is what it is. Uh, have you ever killed a bug and worried there might be more around? Not really. Given he's the king of CGI, I think the perfect Blackheart would be Andy Serkis. Your thoughts? Maybe. I don't like horror movies because it really does make me not want to sleep with the lights off. You know, quick story. Hang on. Let me get to the... everyone stop posting for a minute. I'll admit, 7th, I still get paranoid like that. I saw the Thing movies and I expect something to pop out. Haha, I'm a coward. Okay? What do you think about Humpmaster Flex? I don't dislike him. He could get kind of irritating. But I don't dislike him. The Popeye's chicken sandwich lived up to the hype. I like the original chicken from BK. Glad to know I'm not alone. I still love the Xbox. Okay. So, in reference to what Ultra Steel was talking about, I had a very active imagination when I was a younger child. And I've told this story before, back when I used to tell stories about my dad, when people would donate $20 and I'd tell a dad story. When I was 3 years old, I was having boogeyman issues. Only I didn't have the same kind of boogeyman that other kids had. My boogeyman was the big bad wolf, the actual one from the Three Little Pigs cartoon that Disney made back years, decades and decades ago. And so I would hear a scratching, and this was not a dream. I'd hear a scratching at my closet door, and I'd get up out of my bed, and the closet door would swing open, and there'd be the actual cartoon big bad wolf from those Little Pig cartoons standing like 7 feet tall, and he would just like be growling and moving slowly towards me with his hands out like this, and it freaked me out. And it wasn't a dream. It was, I could actually see this thing. And when you're around the age of 3 and your brain is still developing, you can have hallucinations like that. It's documented. It can happen. And so I was seeing the big bad wolf trying to come get me. And so one night, I go running back into the bedroom, waking everybody up, telling them the big bad wolf's trying to eat me. So my dad says, "You wait here." And he goes walking into my bedroom, and he's like, "You son of a bitch, I'm going to kill you for messing with my kid." And I hear all this bang, slam, crash, bang, bang, punch, pop, pop, stuff getting knocked over. And then it moves into the hallway. And I hear my dad, slamming something against the wall all the way down the hallway. And then he stomps down the steps, throws open the front door. And I hear something slam against the screen door. And then he, at real late at night, probably really pissed off our neighbors. He was like, "And stay the fuck out." And then he slams the door shut. And he comes back up, and he comes into the bedroom, and he's like, "The big bad wolf will never come back. Go to sleep." And he picked me up and took me in my room and put me in bed. And it never happened again. It worked. That was my dad. Whatever happened to Dream Master? I don't know what you're referencing there. I still love that Xbox One video. It's always a classic, even though I have an Xbox. How old were you when you did that? Well, let's see. That was December of 2013. So in December, that will have been 8 years ago. So I would have been 37 going on 38, something like that, because I'm 46 now. I don't know if I could beat up a cartoon wolf or not, Ultra Steel. No one's ever suggested that before. But yeah, I was like 37 going on 38 when I made that Xbox One video. But I was quite a bit skinnier back then too. I've gained quite a bit of weight since that video was made. And I've gained a lot of weight since when I first made that very first YouTube video response to General MLD back in 2009. That was 11 years ago, wasn't it? 2009 to 2019, 19 to 2020. Yeah. No, 12 years ago. That was 12 years ago. So, I was 34 when I started on YouTube, and now I'm 46. I've been doing this for 12 years. But, yeah, back then, I weighed roughly 100 pounds less than I weigh now. I've gained like 100 pounds since I started YouTube 12 years ago. Did you like the black PS2? Well, the black I've seen white PS2s and I've seen red PS2s, but the only ones that I ever had were black because that was the original color. And I have both the original model and I have the PS2 Slim. In fact, I've got two of the original model. I've got two of those. Both of them still work. Sounds like the 6th level loved himself some theatrics. He could. He was an interesting character. Remember the potential Hard 8 versus Next Gen 720 boxing match? Vaguely. The game black on PS2. I still have it, Tokes. It's sitting on my shelf right now. I still have that one. It's a pretty good shooter for its time. But yeah, I vaguely remember something about that. You and Angry Joe's rants on Xbox One are still classics. That BS. Yeah. Remember the $12,000 PC that Next Gen never showed? Yes. Which just like, Next Gen talked for years about how he had proof that BG had a gay lover and all this crap, and I can't remember what the guy's name was supposed to be, but it was all absolute BS. Not Tokes. Body count on PS3. Yeah, I remember that game. I didn't like it as much as Black though. What was it? Antonio something or Tony. It was like this fake person that Next Gen just made up. And that's the thing about Next Gen. A lot of the things that he said and still continues to say are just made up. He just makes them up off the top of his head. Do you remember when Bond made the Dr. Trey definitive compilation videos? Yeah. The definitive version of all your favorite games. Yeah, he'll never live that one down. He will never live that one down. Anytime someone brings up Dr. Trey, somebody always says, the definitive version. The definitive version of all your favorite games. Oh, man. That takes me back. Not as far back as Tokes, but it takes me back. I'll tell you one that nobody talks about anymore that I remembered this morning for the first time in years because of this whole weapon wheel thing that, from what I can tell is kind of falling apart. And that was Foxtrot. You remember Foxtrot? He was that young kid with glasses who tried to convince everybody that he was a game developer. And he would say some stupid crap. And I would reply to him and make a response video. And he'd get really embarrassed. And he'd take the video down. And then he'd write me a War and Peace sized personal message begging for me to take down my response video. And one of the ones that I can remember distinctly making about him was that I stated that he looked like the male version of Sally Jesse Raphael, and I had a picture of him and a picture of Sally Jesse side by side, and that one just really pissed him off. and he really wanted me to take that video down, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to take it down. I'm going to learn you a lesson. I'm going to leave it up. You can try to take it down if you won't. And he never did. He never did try to flag it or anything. But I can remember multiple times that I had to go in old Foxtrot. I remember one of the videos I made to him. It was called Words of Advice for Young People, which was actually a reference to William H. Burroughs, that hardly anyone that saw the video or watched it even got that reference. But that's just the kind of guy I am. Do you think Sony will make a PS5 Pro in the future? Never can tell. Do you keep up with sports? No. Is Wii Lover still around? I don't even remember a Wii Lover. You know, as far as Wii goes, I can remember, of course, Black Baron, and I can remember Shokio, and then the only other Wii guy I remember was that guy. What was his name? Mika Link, I think it was his name, and he was the guy that always filmed his videos in the bathroom. Like he'd have a camcorder aimed at his reflection in a mirror in the bathroom or some crap. And I remember saying in a video that he films all his videos in the bathroom because he's so full of shit he can't risk being more than 2 feet away from a toilet at any given time. But yeah, it looked, every one of his videos was filmed. It looked like it was filmed in a hotel bathroom at a Motel 6. Every single video. That's the only other Wii guy I remember. Yeah, I know Drone Crusher is talking about coming back because of the fact that, you know, Fat Gamer made a video recently holding up a firearm and threatening next gen. Lord help. Lord help. I talk to Drone Crusher all the time. So I still call him Super Brothers. I talk to him all the time on Twitter. 7th, do you remember or know the name of the popular gaming dude way before El Presidor? Chad Warden? Are you thinking about Chad Warden? Hey everybody, it's Chad Warden. PS Triple. The PS Triple. Chad Warden, that's who you're thinking of. Do you remember Furious Francis? Is he still around? The only Furious Francis I know is Boogie2988, who does a character called Francis. He's still around, but yeah, it's Boogie2988. If there was another Francis called Furious Francis, I don't know that person. I only know Boogie's Francis character. You know, where's my damn Mountain Dew? Yeah, that guy. I've actually hung out with Boogie. I've met him a couple of times at gaming conventions, at Retropalooza. Interesting dude. Does Fat Gamer have a new channel? I don't know if it's a new channel or just one that he's, like, you know, revived. That being said, folks, it's been 3 hours, and we made $5 in donations, so we're $45 short of extending the podcast by an hour. So it's not going to happen. Yes, I've seen Super 8. It's a Steven Spielberg wannabe movie made by J.J. Abrams. It's passable. It's decent. It's not great. I'm going to have to cut things short because that's the rules. Them's the rules. And so I will endeavor to be back with you guys next week. I do not know if this weapon wheel thing is actually going to happen tomorrow night or not. I mean, what I'm seeing on my phone would lead me to suspect not, but never can tell. So it could be that all the drama that it stirred up with Hard 8, that BG shot it down and told Black Bond, no, we're not going to do this shit. We'd rather just not have a weapon wheel than to do that and have a bunch of old school guys be on there. I don't know. I just know that, you know, not getting any messages about it now, and that whole chat has been removed from here. So maybe it'll happen and maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. Otherwise, just plan on hopefully seeing me next week. Same 7th time, same 7th channel. Be sweet, y'all.